Happy May the 4th, everyone! After taking a short holiday after The Mandalorian Season 2, Star Wars has returned to our screens with a brand new animated series, The Bad Batch. The series spins off from the opening arc from the Clone Wars Season 7 and focuses on the exploits of Clone Force 99 in the wake of Order 66. To kick things off, we got a 70-minute long season premiere, but how does it hold up? I'm Ewan, you're watching What Culture Star Wars, and with me today to discuss the opening episode from Star Wars The Bad Batch is Gareth Morgan.
I am your father.
Oh my god, you
gentlemen.
came equipped with the branding and everything.
I hope it's like reading across the right way and it's not backwards, because that would just stand to be an absolute mind trick.
I can read it, which is good. It shows that I haven't lost my brain completely after how good that opening episode was. But yeah, Gareth, what did you think of that episode? Because I'm fairly certain I'm just going to go into full like effusive praise mode right now. I don't know about you, but I had a pretty good time.
I was trying to be as neutral as possible coming into this. I thought I can't just come in with that fanboy mentality and just be like, oh my god, new Star Wars, yay, and just have my mind melted by that. But it was just, for a 70-minute episode, like in terms of animation as well, it's not something that, well, let's say Star Wars have been accustomed to in recent memory at least. Most of the series, Rebels, Clone Wars, things like that, they've been like 25-minute chunks, and it's really digestible content. So you get a bit worried when you see like a 70-minute episode, because you think, oh, are they going to be able to maintain the momentum across that entire runtime? But I could have sat there for another hour this morning. It was just, the pacing was excellent, the tone just kept you gripped, and it literally from about 2 minutes in, this episode grabbed you by the scruff of your throat and just went, right, come on, let's go.
We're doing this. We're going, buckle up, kids. We're going down Trauma Avenue, and that's kind of the theme of it. Yeah, I think I don't know if a lot of other people felt this way after watching the Clone Wars Season 7, where the opening Bad Batch arc, it was like, oh, I enjoyed hanging out with Wrecker and the boys. Who wouldn't? They're great lads. But at the same time, I was kind of like, maybe I wouldn't see an entire show working with them. I was obviously still excited for the Bad Batch, but in the back of my mind, I'm like, maybe this is going to be a little bit more irreverent than the Clone Wars was. And like you said, the premiere episode dispels those notions right from the off. We get a really clever kind of redux of like the Clone Wars style opening episode, where you have the voiceover from Tom Kane, where he's all doing the whole like Admiral Wolf Yularen, I believe his name is, and he's doing like the big intro thing, and then we cut to Depa Billaba and Kanan, or Caleb Doom as he's known at this point in time, on the planet of Kala. And this is an interesting one because anyone who's been keeping up with all the canon Star Wars books and stuff will know that even though Depa was killed on Kala in the comics, the Bad Batch were not involved, and she also had a green lightsaber rather than a blue one, but that's fine. You know, we know everything that occurs on screen tends to trump the canonicity of what we see in the comics. But yeah, we get that great sequence where the Bad Batch come in, do their usual unconventional special forces badassery, and then we get hit right over the head with Order 66 right from the off. And my little heart for Freddie Prinze Jr. doing his little child Kanan voice, and then having to reckon with just the trauma of losing his master straight after. It was a big 180. I was like, oh, this is so cute. It's little Caleb. Oh, I know what this means. And then it happened.
Yeah, it was one of those where I had to like read, because I'm not as, and I'm probably going to be saying blasphemy now, but I'm not as kind of intertwined in the Rebel story as much as I am with the Clone Wars story, because I've literally just come straight off Clone Wars. I'm one of those dudes who just watched the entire series about 3-4 months ago, so I've just rolled and I've just rolled straight into this, so it's worked out really well. But I knew of Kanan and everything else, and just seeing this moment happen, I was like, oh, I had that same feeling, that dread of, oh no, because I just thought, lovely, I know where we are in the timeline. There's a little bit of time we've got to go until just everything hits the fan. But no, there wasn't. There was minutes, and everything just happened. We had this euphoric moment of the Wrecker just obliterating like 3 tanks, just being an absolute machine. It was great. We had the Bad Batch just in the pump, doing what they do best, and then everything gets, and in terms of the actual tone, like the actual color palette for the most part as well at times, everything gets grey, everything gets a bit messy. It does. There's just so many moments in just like, what's the word, subsequently after this, that just get they start conflicting you. You start understanding every single character in this moment. They're trying to deal with what's happened right now, like we did all those years ago. Like, what does this mean for this person, that person? Oh my goodness! And you're seeing where everyone falls, what sides people fall on. It's just great.
Yeah, and that's the interesting thing, obviously, because we knew going into this that Clone Force 99, due to the fact that they are, defective clone troopers, they don't all have the inhibitor chips. However, as was speculated after that first Bad Batch big trailer, where you don't see Crosshair hanging with the group after kind of they're on Kamino, he begins to show a little bit of loyalty to the new Empire. He tries to murk Caleb right in the off and Hunter, who is basically just so clearly inspired by Rambo. Like, just visually, it is Sylvester Stallone clone. Sylvester Stallone, if you will. It's brilliant.
That's great, yeah.
I can't, that's completely ruined my point here. But yeah, Crosshair, obviously, he, over the course of this opening episode, gradually begins to gravitate more and more towards the Empire. I don't know what D. Bradley Baker's going for with his voice. It's kind of like a bit of, like, it reminds me of Jeremy Irons in Die Hard with a Vengeance. Kind of that slight, kind of just, I don't think you know what you're doing type thing, and it was great. And I want to commend D. Bradley Baker in particular, because after doing all the Clone Wars and having conversations with himself all the time, the fact he gets to maintain these 4 different distinct voices, and I just think that's incredible.
It is. It's, in terms of vocal work, it's one of those, as soon as you check on like the Bad Batch or the Clone Wars IMDb, and you just see this one dude, it's just... But I don't know where these voices are coming from. It's madness. You just think there's an entire suite worth of people just having a chat with like themselves, and it's just one guy. Just like you said, the specificity with every single voice, and like the attitude and the beats, the rhythm within each character, they feel so distinct and different. And it's what it kind of lives and dies by that. This series, like that, especially that pun intended, that batch of people, that kind of like little group. If they aren't diverse and they don't feel like 5 different unique personalities, then it all just feels a bit meh, and you feel like they all get lost in the shuffle. But every single, even in this episode alone, I know it's a big old episode, but every single person gets their moment to shine in this episode, and he just adds so much life with the voice talent that he brings to the table.
Yeah, I completely agree. I fell in love with every single member of the Bad Batch over the course of like this episode. I mean, I enjoyed them, like I said, in Clone Wars Season 7, but here I finally felt as though that connection kind of sparked into life. But yeah, after the whole Order 66 fiasco with the Bad Batch, it's just kind of like, well, that was weird. They go back to Kamino. Palpatine gives his whole, an attempt on my life has left me scarred and deformed. And he proclaims his galactic empire, and the Bad Batch are like, this is getting even weirder. And we get to meet Omega, who is the new female clone who we're introduced to in this series. And she was a definite highlight for me from this episode as well. I really think it's cool how they show how the Kaminoans, even though, when the Prime Minister is talking to Tarkin and, is kind of not emotionally discussing the clones, talking about, oh, don't damage my property, you'll be reimbursed for whatever, damages are accrued. There definitely seems to be at least some level of affection from some of the Kaminoans towards the clones. Obviously, everything we've seen in Star Wars prior to this intimates that they just treat them as, Jango Fett's disposable DNA. But here we actually see some protection towards Omega in particular, who is the official 5th member of the Bad Batch, and I thought she was great. The Tarkin stuff in particular I thought was really well handled, because if you're familiar with the Star Wars expanded canon, in the actual canon, how the Empire kind of walked away from clone troopers following the events of Revenge of the Sith, and how they slowly, kind of wound down the Kaminoan clone operations, although we don't know specifically how that happened, and I really hope they address that in this series, because it shows that there's some tension going on between the cloners and the Empire, because, they still have a business to maintain at the end of the day, and all this noise from Tarkin about, oh, we maybe just want to, get actual, conscripted recruits from across the galaxy, they're not too keen on that, are they?
Yeah, let's just give them some really shoddy armor, so they'll just all get blasted to smithereens anytime somebody just aims a gun at them. It's, I'm so happy just based on this episode alone that they had that first little meeting, like you said, where those little cracks are starting to show, and he's starting to talk about the fact that, oh, we could just do this, we don't really need the clones anymore. And then you start to see the Kaminoans just, number one, obviously they're thinking of themselves as a business. Okay, we've got this contract, you've got to abide by this contract. Oh no, that contract doesn't apply anymore because we're the Galactic Empire, not the Republic. And it's little things like that you see in, okay, yeah, the economic side of things, they obviously want to look after themselves, but like you said, it's the emotional just the emotional qualities that they're showing now towards these clones. And like, I think if they didn't have Omega there to act as this kind of the heart of the Kamino, the Kaminoans, the Bad Batch, just everything, like just this soft center. It's not naivety, but it's the innocence that's still there. There's still a flicker of it. It's not just, somebody's not just clicked the fingers and everything's just completely changed and everyone's on the side of the Empire and we're just going to take over the world. There's still little flickers of rebellion, little flickers of the Republic, and people who've really believe in what the clones were there to do. Do you know what I mean? For the Republic, like they weren't, in their minds, they weren't brought into existence just to kind of enslave the world, like the universe. That's not what that was all about. So I just think Omega's, I really like that. I really like the idea of her being just something, a completely different element to bring into the Bad Batch as well, having that child element there. Like, obviously we'll get to that later on in the episode, but having her kind of interacting with the folks that we know at this point, who just these kind of wrecking crashers and everything else, having her perspective on things, I think it's really gonna help influence and probably give off exactly where Hunter goes as a character, because you can see he's so heavily influenced by Omega straight away. He sees her as probably a chance of salvaging what's left of their vision of what the world should be. Like, he's like, if I can protect this Omega, this girl, this defective clone like one of us, then great, there's a hope for all of us. But if we lose her, I think we'd see a bit of a destruction, let's say, of the Bad Batch. So hopefully we just preserve Omega. I'm worried because I know where the future goes, all right, and I've not seen a lot of Omega, so I'm getting worried. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, I mean, there are reasons to be optimistic regarding their fate. Obviously, the end of the episode, we get Crosshair being a bad grass and, you know, telling Tarkin that Hunter didn't, kill Caleb Doom on Kala. We also get the interaction with Saw Gerrera's partisans, which I thought was a great way to introduce that character yet again. He's just the permanent, like link between the Clone Wars and Rebels and Rogue One or whatever. I think he's a great character. And we also get that bit at the end where we have the big kind of standoff between them all and they go off, and I am very curious to see what they're going to do next, because they speak about going to the J19 sector, I believe, and I did some Googling, and the J19 sector actually has the planet Seleucami, which, if you recall in the Clone Wars, I think either in Season 2 or 3, Kut Lorquain, who was the deserter clone who actually started his own family, I think maybe we could be seeing him in the next coming episodes, or either that, or maybe Rex linked up with him after him and Ahsoka parted ways in Clone Wars Season 7. Either way, I definitely think we're going to get more clones, D. Bradley Baker having the best time ever, which is all we can really ask for, and more political intrigue, which is what I'm really hoping to see going forward with the Kaminoans and figuring out just how exactly the entire clone army kind of changed in the wake of the Empire. But yeah, my main takeaway from this episode, it was amazing. The animation quality at Lucasfilm continues to amaze me in so many different ways, and I love the Bad Batch. I'm now the world's biggest Bad Batch fan. Sorry if anyone else thinks they are, that's wrong, it's me.
I mean, I was going to say I'm a bad B-atch at this point. That's how I'm feeling about this, because it's just like you said, like the way it's, I don't know how to follow that, you know what I mean? But it's one of those things where, if you look at the way the animation has progressed, like at the end of the Season 7 of Clone Wars, it was just it was on a different level. You were just like, okay, if this is the direction we're going in now, get me in this ship, I'm going to hyperspace. I love this stuff. And I think they've carried that and they've just taken it up more levels. It felt cinematic, like you said, it feels epic. It feels on a level above probably what we've seen in the Clone Wars, which is saying something. And I think they had a lot to juggle. All these cameos that they brought in were handled so well. AZ brought in from the Clone Wars as well. My little boy popped at this. No, I love that guy. And just seeing little things like that and Tarkin come back in, Saw Gerrera. There's more scope for that as the series goes on. Definitely in this era in time, we might see a few people popping up from maybe even like the video games from Jedi Fallen Order, like just people throwing in at this point. It'd be great, and I think they could do that so well. And just the core of what this series is worked really well, because it was always going to. It's the premise, it's the thing that we were sold on in the first place. But all the little tidbits and added details that we're getting so far, just after one epic hour-long episode, I'm so up for this. I'm just, as you can tell, I'm just wired at this point on Bad Batch goodness.
I completely agree. But yeah, everyone let us know in the comments below if you have this same energy. Did you love the Bad Batch premiere as much as we did? And what do you think you're going to see in the coming episodes? I'm always going to be curious to hear your thoughts down in the comments below. And please also be sure to like the video if you enjoyed it, and subscribe to What Culture Star Wars, because Star Wars continues to have a big year every single year, because Disney just won't let us sleep. But yeah, I've been Ewan. You can follow me on Twitter if you want to, at EwanRuinsThings. And I've been joined by Gareth, who you can follow on Twitter
at GMorgan04.
And we will see you next time. May the 4th be with you. Ah, puns. Got 'em.